Okay, so in this tutorial, what we are going to develop is we're gonna develop the homepage of the CSL project. So as you remember that in the homepage of the project, and which is written in the requirements, that there's two types of user that's gonna be involved in this project. One is the administrator, the CSL administrator, and the other is regular user. So on the home page of the CSL projects, on the sidebar, we're going to have a different set of link. Let me show you what I mean by that. So for example, if you go to time tracker index, and here we have the sidebar, and this sidebar will be different for the regular user. Regular user only have a subset of a different link, and the administrator we have different link for that too. So in order for us to know what role the current user is, the server code had to tell the client that information. And so what we're going to do is we're going to develop a function to check if the current user is the CSL administrator or is it a regular user. So for doing that, the best way to do is to make a user entities in our project, which is this class. Let me show you where it resides. So this is our CSL application, and here is our model. In our model, we have an entity called user, and in this entity user, I already add one function, which is to test if the user is CSL administrator, and I call it is administrator. In this example, I assume that the system administrator, which is our Mantis administrator, is also the CSL administrator, and the unit head as well as unit administrator of Center for Community Service Learning, that the unit of that unit will also be the CSL administrator. So now we already have the function, so we're done with this function now. Then we can use this function to check anywhere from anywhere. Right in this way also also very good, because in the future if you want to add somebody to be a unit administrator too, I mean the CSL administrator, then you can just go here and generalize it. Or in the future you end up with having a list of people. You create tables and then you have the list of people, list of IDs in there to be the CSL administrator. You can also do that by using this function alone. Alright, so now after that we have the function over here from the index controller, which is index CSL index controller on our index action. What we need to do is we need to send the is administrator to the client side, so that the client side know how to render the link, right? So in here we're gonna call this current user, since the user, we know that the current user is the user that logged into the system right now. Is the current user is of the controller. We can call it, and it is the user model, so we can call the function is administrator directly. However, this current user at this moment is not the CSL model entity user, but instead it will be Mantis model entity user. So in that case we need to convert the current user into CSL model entity user. For doing that, we can do it right here, that's okay, but we have a better place to do that. So in our CSL control abstract, we gonna override a function in it, which this function will be called in every controller before it's reached to the action. So we can override the logic over here. Now what we can do is we check if the not empty the user, not empty current user, or and the user is not an instance of model entity user, then we're gonna transform that into our model entity CSL model entity user. And you remember that in the last tutorial we did not create this model. So now we had to create this model, make it extend our Mantis model entity in my model user, and use that to fetch the user information and store it in this current user. Now from now on, any CSL controller that inherit from our CSL controller abstract will have the current user is the CSL model entity user. Alright, so let's take a look at this model. This model also, what it does is that it's going to inherit from Mantis model user, and this is very important. The role class is very important. If you don't specify this role class, it will again be the same as whatever defined in Mantis model entity user, which is Mantis model entity user. So we need to set the role class to CSL model entity user, so that when the model pull the data of the current user from the data from the tables, it will create CSL model entity user for us. Now, after doing all of this, let's test it right now. And let's go to our apps and go to our CSL. Let me make the it just appeared. Let me make the CSL to be my favorite app, so that I don't need to do this again. Go back to dashboard. Alright, and in here I have my community service learning. Alright, so when I click here, it says that column is administrator is not in a row, meaning that probably that the is administrator function is not called, has not been called. So let me check it again. So is it going to go in here or not? The D function is a utility function for you to debug or to just validate something. It's basically a validate and then exit after that. Okay, so it's not going here. And now in this now we continue. So the mistake that I made was that I did not call parent init before I do perform a check over here. So now we change back, or we move the parent init to the top. So that's why we can have this current user in here. Now let's run it at the client side to see what's going on again. Run it, and we'll see the it's properly shown. And then now let's go to our index.js and then to perform a check over there. So index.js, and in here on the append function. So let's do something like this. This options dot is administrator. We set it. This is the variable that we define on the server. So we append administrator or none, not an administrator. Okay. Now let's run it. Run it over here. Let's see, it's pull. Alright, so let's see what's going on here. Not a problem. Okay, so it's show up this is administrator. Let me switch to somebody else. Say I switch to Elson, no, not that person. Let me switch to somebody else. Julia. Okay. So load this application again, and it said that's not an administrator. Now let me switch back to me. Okay, I'm the administrator right now. And so since I'm an administrator, I need to now we start rendering our a sidebar. Okay, so you can copy the sidebar from the other application and just implement it. The best place to copy it from is from our dashboard. Have a beautiful sidebar so that we can do we can just copy from that. Let's go to index of this. We're gonna see how it's gonna do the first of all, it need to draw the page first. So it's gonna create a skeleton, or basically it's gonna create a structure, the HTML structure. So what we can do is we're gonna set my machine is running slow, so this dot append with HTML like this. Now after we do that, then we can see the HTML structures will form for us. However, it will not have any things in it so far. So okay, so in here, let's see what's going on here. We append everything, and this is our, okay, so refresh again. Yep, it's appended over here, but it's right now doesn't have anything in it. All right, so now let's start. Let's create a toolbar. We again copy from the other application, which is our index dashboard. So here is how we create a sidebar. And this, if you have the function create sidebar in your application, it will be automatically called from our Mantis framework. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to say app.prototype.create sidebar equal to a function, and this function, let's just let's gonna do, say we're gonna put just one application in it. Say this is manage, and the type of sidebar is going to be type that is going to be header for now. Let's create one header, and just also copy from that one over here. We copy and paste it on the top part of that over here. Okay, now go back to our code. We go down to create sidebar function, and let's remove all of these things. And the things about what we have to do over here is we need the sidebars and list of items we push in here, types header and sidebar wrapper. And now let's see the sidebars comes up. Alright, so we have one manage. Now next step is gonna be, say we're gonna show all of the project for the administrator. Then you can just simply add more into this one. So we're gonna do so we're gonna check if this option is administrator, then we're gonna add a link for administrator. Right, so we're gonna push this, and then another one is label, which is label, and then we're gonna push hash. I guess it's gonna be say CSL, then projects, or let's create admin, and then projects. Okay, so this is another item, and you can say all projects. Right, so let's see if that one show up. Okay, good. Now we have this one, and this is gonna link to our CSL admin projects. Now, so you can continue to do that and add more items into the sidebars, and it automatically appear for you. And when you click on it again, you're gonna go to that page. Alright, so that is for building the sidebar for the home page. Right.